Fuck.
Oh, hell no, I'm out of here.
Battle Brothers is an exceptionally interesting and captivating game that embraces its distinct identity. At its core, I can describe it as a turn-based tactical RPG that requires you to assemble and lead a mercenary group to tackle the tasks that many people shy away from. You know, things that sometimes involve venturing into the eerie depths of a dark forest and facing off against all sorts of nasty creatures that your mom used to tell you bedtime horror stories about. Yeah, it's that kind of thrilling experience. It intertwines strategic intricacies, character progression, and high-stakes combat scenarios within a meticulously crafted sandbox realm. It sticks firmly to its core principles, resulting in an undeniably pleasant gameplay. In the grand scheme of things, it encapsulates every aspect that I both hate and love about indie video games. Battle Brothers doesn't cuddle you, it drops you into a world filled with treacherous terrain, deadly enemies, and morally grey decisions. Each mercenary in your group has their own story, their own strengths, and their own quirks. You'll find yourself scratching your head, wondering if that grizzled veteran with a knack for cleaving enemies in half is worth the trouble, even if he drinks more ale than he should. The game was developed by Overhyped Studios and was initially released in 2017. Since then, it has undergone a series of updates and received various DLCs, further enhancing its gameplay experience. Despite its seemingly simple RPG framework, Battle Brothers boasts a surprising depth, featuring intricate layers that contribute to its exceptionally engaging and charming nature. So, how the heck do you play this game? Well, it starts off with you picking the name and banner for your mercenary crew. Now, here's where things get a little wacky, because for some reason I find myself investing way more time than necessary in this part. Seriously, every time I hit that fresh start button, I'm on a quest to create the perfect name and banner combo. It's all purely cosmetic, mind you, but I'll be damned if I don't get a kick out of it. Now, let me hit you with a few examples. King's Revenge, Devil's Chosen, Skeleton Crew. So yeah, call me a sucker for aesthetics, but I'm having a blast crafting these outrageously cringy identities for my band of battle-hardened misfits. So once you've nailed down that snazzy name and banner, you've got to choose your difficulty. Then there's the background story of your ragtag group, and if that weren't enough, you've got to select one of the options for the endgame crisis. I promise, I will explain the details behind everything I just said, but for now, let's just start playing the game. Once everything is done, you are dropped somewhere on a map that's been scrambled up by the RNG gods. This is where the real adventure begins. It's your call to snatch up quests, wander into the unknown, and mold your merry band of mercenaries into a formidable force. Think of it as a choose-your-own-adventure epic, but with swords, shields, and maybe a touch of mayhem. When you fire up the game, your initial move should be hitting up a nearby town to find some work and rustle up a bunch of potential recruits. Right out of the gate, those RPG vibes are slapping you in the face. I'm talking stats, traits, the whole 9 yards. And let's not forget the leveling system for every member of your army, which adds a little bit more depth to your progression. As you might imagine, logistical work is very important in this game, because it keeps your soldiers in fighting shape. First off, before the battle actually starts, you need to make sure that the people have the necessary tools to spread the humanity's depravity across the world. Buying weapons, armor, and any other piece of equipment that might help is essential, not to mention the fact that you must also keep track of various supplies that are needed while roaming the map. This includes ensuring a stable food supply to prevent starvation, providing tools for repairing damaged equipment, stockpiling ammunition, and having an ample amount of medicine to mend wounded soldiers. Numerous factors such as these hold the power to shape the battle's outcome even before it happens. In addition to everything else, you're also responsible for paying your soldiers their daily wages. Monitoring this delicate balance requires careful management of your gold, the ultimate resource. You'll constantly find yourself short of it, and the limited funds must be spent wisely. While purchasing a shiny new piece of armor for your favorite mercenary might be appealing, you can't forget about the shortage of tools that repair equipment for the rest of the crew. It's an intricate and balancing task that demands you to be cautious about resource allocation. Many things will remain beyond your reach in the beginning. Instead of wielding a fancy sword, you'll have to make do with a fishing net and a pike. Initially, it might feel like you're barely scraping by. The most effective approach to prepare would be to salvage equipment from your defeated foes, since this will save you a lot of gold in the beginning. The main goal of your adventures lies in undertaking quests to earn funds, which can then be invested in acquiring equipment to ready yourself for even more challenging quests that give you even more money. In the first stage, it would be wise to take on assignments that aren't overly difficult. For example, clearing out a few bandits from a nearby ruin or completing a delivery to a neighboring town would be wise choices to begin with. You'll find yourself escaping from nearly everything you encounter, as most of the enemies will view your characters as nothing more than a morning exercise. The game goes to great lengths to emphasize that you are merely a small fish in the vast ocean, and if you want to change that, you'll have to fucking earn it. The way you develop and equip your characters significantly influences the upcoming battles. As you engage in more fights, you'll need to level them up accordingly. There are numerous attributes that can be enhanced, requiring careful consideration of how and who to upgrade. In particular, a frontline swordsman might require more health than the archer positioned behind them. In addition to attribute upgrades, each level presents you with a perk to select from. These perks serve various purposes, such as increasing a character's evasion or granting extra experience when a battle concludes. This process involves extensive planning, but fortunately there are plenty of online guides available to assist you in upgrading specific soldiers. Now may be a suitable time to discuss combat. In short, it's both direct and goddamn brutal. One of the most vital rules to bear in mind during fights is to maintain formation, especially when facing overwhelming odds. As I mentioned earlier, the combat operates on a turn-based system on a map. There are numerous factors to consider when engaging in battle. For instance, terrain plays a significant role in your conflicts. If you engage in combat near or on a mountain, you'll encounter rough terrain that you must navigate. Holding the higher ground holds great importance in combat, so such advantages are abundant in these areas. On the other hand, fighting on plains lacks such features. You must also keep in mind how your soldiers are geared up. In particular, if you equip one of your characters with a two-handed weapon, they might deal significant damage. One good hit and they can one-shot an enemy, but at the same time, their own vulnerability could pose a problem. Alternatively, providing a shield to someone enhances their defenses but reduces potential damage output, making them perfect for the front lines. It would be also good to consider that different weapons give different bonuses. An axe excels at breaking shields, while spear is good to keep enemies at a distance. You could always be more traditional and give everyone a sword, which does the job well enough. Additionally, there exists an extensive selection of secondary weapons and various tools that can be used for diverse situations. The range of choices is truly extensive when you take into account the wide assortment of weapons available. Needless to say, there's an array of options tailored to your every need, so it's good to explore firsthand to determine what suits you the best. Even if you've considered every factor, it's important to remain on your toes during combat. The game doesn't pull any punches when swords are drawn. A single misstep could lead to the loss of a valuable fighter, and if you continue making errors, that might result in the entire army being lost, leading to a game over. Possessing a thorough comprehension of the battlefield and your opponents is essential for long-term survival. Allowing your guard to drop could result in your army suffering, and that's certainly something you don't want, especially after investing hours in their creation. You better mentally prepare yourself to witness your favorite characters' heads being ripped off from time to time. And let me tell you, things like that change a man. If you ever played XCOM on Iron Man, you know what I'm talking about. The entire battle can be going in your favor, so naturally you lower your guard, assuming it's almost over. Then, out of nowhere, one of the sneaky boys manages to go behind your ranks and one-shot your best archer. Understanding each individual soldier and their role within the army will spare you a great deal of headache. Attributes play a crucial role in this context. Characters with low stamina will quickly become fatigued when wearing heavy armor while making multiple attacks. Also, if an individual's resolve is low, they might not be so eager to continue fighting when they witness their comrades being butchered by some monstrous entity. It is important to understand what and who to upgrade when leveling up. Many people make a mistake by focusing exclusively on upgrading health for the soldiers at the front line, while neglecting defense points. Another vital aspect to consider consider is selecting what recruits you want in your mercenary band, because their background determines their base attributes. As you might imagine, a historian won't possess high melee skill like a deserter or a former gladiator. Numerous factors like these demand consideration, and while it can be easy to feel overwhelmed at times, it's also part of the game's charm. It is inevitable that in the midst of battles, numerous individuals will sustain damage, and recovery might take a few days, while injured characters will experience reduced health compared to their usual state. These injuries could range from minor wounds like a pierced hand to more severe ones such as a cut artery, each inflicting distinct negative effects on your soldiers while deployed. In the event that a soldier is taken down during combat, there is a chance for them to survive, but they will be stuck with a permanent injury. One might lose an eye, which, although not ideal, is a relatively manageable outcome. On the other hand, another soldier could suffer brain damage, resulting in significant debuff. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to come to terms with trimming the roster a little bit. No matter what happens, you have to make the most out of a bad situations. During battles, an AI opponent might land a lucky hit on one of your characters, creating the need to reinforce that segment of your formation. On the flip side, you could find yourself initiating a battle that you later came to realize is unwinnable. In such cases, you should retreat alongside the surviving mercenaries and lick your wounds, assuming you managed to escape. There will be instances where you might attempt to raid an enemy camp, only to fall into an ambush and become encircled by a visibly superior opponent from all directions. Well, time to restart. As Sun Tzu once wisely stated, understanding your enemy constitutes half the battle. What I'm getting at here is the need to strategically plan around the specific foe you are up against. For example, engaging humans in combat usually proves quite straightforward, as they tend to employ conventional tactics. This implies confronting them head-on and capitalizing on potential vulnerabilities. Nevertheless, as mentioned earlier, this world is also inhabited by a variety of other horrors. We are talking massive spiders, full-blown werewolves, and a whole bunch of other abominations. Taking on these monstrosities requires a whole new level of engagement. Even though they may not give a hoot about tactics and would rather bull rush you head-on, their diverse set of skills is bound to throw you a major curveball. You've got foes in this category who can teleport all across the map, and then there's the kind that survives on a human diet. Human diet. These encounters can be really challenging and catch you off guard unexpectedly. Instead of equipment, defeating monsters yields various trophies that can be used in town to acquire additional gear. For instance, slaying spiders provides you with their venom, which can be used to craft a poisoned oil that can be applied to weapons. The more unusual and exotic the creatures are, the higher quality trophies they drop. It's also quite interesting how the monsters are integrated into the world map, because they are not just walking around doing nothing until you find them. If there's a group of creatures roaming near a village, upon entering, the said village will have a description that depicts the villagers as terrified, leading to fewer available recruits for you. However, if you take on the task of exterminating these monsters, that negative effect will vanish. I've come across numerous captivating situations that were organically created by just playing the game. One time, I took on the task of eliminating a group of giant spiders that were terrifying a small town. I tracked their trail deep into the forest, which ultimately led to them discovering me. I ended up ambushed and cornered from all sides within the woods, and I can just say that a lot of good men died on that fateful day. On another occasion, I tracked down a group of bandits who had stolen some artifact, but unfortunately for me, they were in the middle of the meeting with the guy who can raise the dead. There were a lot of things like this that I've noticed, but not only that, the entire world seems to function with its own economy that can be altered in a variety of ways. If a village is suffering from a drought and their caravans are being attacked, market prices can skyrocket. On the other hand, if you take up a job to escort a caravan headed to a town, it will be well supplied, resulting in lowered prices. But even without considering the circumstances of towns or villages, prices will still vary depending on your location. Naturally, a larger settlement with a blacksmith will offer considerably lower costs for iron tools compared to a remote village on the fringes of civilization. This doesn't even cover the different buildings you can find in cities. If you are trying to buy better equipment, don't expect to find it at a regular marketplace. You'll need to search for an armorer or weaponsmith, typically situated in larger towns or castles, though even that doesn't mean you'll find them there. Numerous other buildings serve different purposes too. It is crucial to remember where particular structures are located to avoid wasting valuable time while traveling around. And there will be a lot of traveling around. Normally, when you feel like you've exhausted a specific town or if you don't find anything interesting, you will move somewhere else. The map presents a somewhat diverse array of choices for where to venture. You'll come across the conventional towns nested in forests and plains, and this is usually where you will spend most of your time. If you plan on traveling, it would be wise to find a caravan. This not only allows you to journey to another location, but also gives you some gold along the way. Plus, traveling with a caravan doesn't deplete your provisions as it would be if you were traveling solo. The landscape varies according to your location, featuring different biomes. Up north, you'll encounter extensive snowscapes and distinctive enemies like barbarian tribes. While it offers a refreshing change of scenery, personally I found that the real excitement lies in the southern regions. To the south lie the deserts and completely unique city-states. Here you'll encounter more diverse foes and equipment. It's only in these parts that you'll find an alchemist, and if you're lucky he'll go by the name of Alkor. Alchemists sell an array of weaponry which involve gunpowder. You can literally purchase a big-ass gun to blast your foes to Kingdom Come. Southerners also have slaves available for purchase to bolster your fighting force. It's a truly captivating region with a lot of things to do and discover. You can also leave the civilization altogether and venture into the deepest parts of the map. Here you'll often encounter extreme dangers which are even more troubling due to the absence of cities for buying or selling equipment. It is important to consider that every battle you choose to do is an investment that will either turn a profit or end in tragedy. Whatever you chose to do, the more you fight, the more renown you will get. Renown is important because it functions as a form of reputation. If you accumulate a significant amount of it, the nobles of the land may acknowledge your skills and offer you special quests. These quests are usually quite challenging, but they come with a generous reward. This is pretty crucial, since the more you grind, the more gold you'll be needing to shell out for the endgame gear. It is quite the spectacle witnessing your crew's journey from run-of-the-mill mercenaries tackling minor nuisances to morphing into an absolute juggernaut that even an orc horde will think twice about before charging. Renown is also used to unlock more slots in your retinue. These are the types of companions that don't directly participate in combat but provide assistance in various different ways. In particular, the blacksmith repairs equipment faster, the drill master generates more experience at the end of each battle, and so on. You get the gist of it. At this point, you've likely grasped the core gameplay loop. It's all about engaging in combat, enhancing your comp abilities, and immersing yourself in even more battles. Throughout this process, you'll gradually design your very own mercenary army that feels like an extension of yourself. You'll need to upgrade them in any way you can because the most exciting aspect of the game emerges during its later stages. Approximately after 100 in-game days, a crisis scenario will appear, adding a new layer of intensity. This scenario can either be random or selected from the available options during the game setup. In a nutshell, during these moments, the map transforms into a battlefield with massive armies clashing in every corner. Cities themselves might even face destruction, raising the stakes significantly. After surviving one crisis, expect another one to surface after the next 100 days, followed by yet another one, and the cycle continues. Each scenario is unique in its own way. It could include the incursion of green-skinned tribes or the restless advance of undead warriors across the continent. Alternatively, it might manifest as a clash among noble houses or a holy war between the north and the south. Regardless, brace yourself for relentless battles, as these challenges indeed present formidable obstacles to conquer. In many ways, this is what Battle Brothers is all about. There isn't a concrete end goal, the idea is to keep playing until you've become overwhelmingly powerful or simply lose interest. The game's sandbox is profoundly uncomplicated yet remarkably enthralling. Chances are you have already drawn parallels between this game and a certain other title. While I absolutely love Mount & Blade Warband, certain aspects of the gameplay Battle Brothers simply does better. First and foremost, it's more straightforward and places a greater emphasis on tactical combat with its grid-based system. I feel like this leads to more intricate and calculated engagements when compared to Warband's real-time combat. Additionally, Battle Brothers is much simpler, with fewer character interactions required to establish your standing in its world. These positive aspects unfortunately also serve as a double-edged sword. While Warband presents a far more extensive and open sandbox world, offering a wide array of activities, Battle Brothers' main strength lies solely in its combat. Since it is more simple, the risk of getting bored in the game's main gameplay loop becomes more apparent. You will have to fight a lot of battles, many of which will feel repetitive. Moreover, as the game progresses, encounters with entire armies become more often. I'm not lying when I say that certain battles lasted nearly 30 minutes due to the sheer number of characters populating the screen. The aspect of the game that is most affected by this is its replay value, as you become aware of the type of grind required to reach the endgame. The game attempts to mend this issue by granting you the choice of various origins for your mercenary group. I touched on this at the beginning, but let's delve further. As you create your starting band, you'll be tasked with selecting one background, each offering distinct strengths and weaknesses. However, the problem is that many of these backgrounds feel the same in many regards. For instance, if you go for the poacher background, your journey kicks off with 3 ranged units. They are unique in a way that they move faster but can carry less items in their inventory. Unfortunately, that's where the differences end. Everything else stays the same. Most other origins are similar in this regard. The Beast Slayers excel at fighting monsters but receive lower pay. Northern Raiders on the other hand acquire more loot after battles but face animosity from human factions. I hope you catch my drift. Among these, a few scenarios truly stand out as distinctive, such as the Oath Takers. This group commences with 2 exceptionally skilled soldiers with amazing armor. They also engage in special events requiring them to fulfill oaths for extra bonuses, creating a unique experience. I just wish that more origins were like this. But then again, why am I bitching about this when I always pick the same default scenario during my replays? Hold on a sec. Am I the one who's out of touch here? In conclusion, Battle Brothers is an incredibly intriguing and distinct video game where every decision is a double-edged sword and every recruit is a potential champion. You will find yourself on a journey of grit, strategy and unexpected camaraderie. Beneath the mud and blood-soaked landscapes lies an intricately woven tapestry of strategic depth and unexpected narratives. In all of this, one thing is crystal clear. Battle Brothers is an expedition into a world where our wits are the most valuable currency, and our bonds with battle-worn brethren hold the key to survival. If you are a tactical enthusiast or a seasoned adventurer seeking a fresh challenge, Battle Brothers is definitely something you should try out. However, the cost of the base game along with all the DLCs is quite steep. Therefore, if you're considering a purchase, I strongly recommend waiting for a sale. The investment will prove worthwhile. On another note, with Spooktober just around the corner, I've got something special in store for the occasion. I am looking forward to having you join in. Until then, stay spooky.